corner. Wearing black with fuchsia and red trim. When he stepped on the scale, he weighed in at an official 145 1/2 pounds. Started from the bottom now. He enters the ring.
And the elements, the atmosphere, the location. Canelo Alvarez, who's pretty comfortable fighting, training in the Las Vegas area, fighting in Las Vegas. Now here he comes across the world. Had to leave 3 weeks early to get here. Told us earlier this week that it took him up until about Monday to fully acclimate to his new surroundings. He says he's all the way there and says he'll be ready to go in this fight.
Yeah, that man right there, that Mexican superstar, has been owning Cinco de Mayo since 2012. Headlined 10 times already. Started with Shane Mosley in 2012. Here we are in 2025, still headlining, still pound for pound, still ahead of the game, and still on top of his game.
And we've experienced a lot of new things in this job, Sergio. I have never walked outside briefly and seen daylight during a fight.
Well, Canelo hopes to turn William School's lights out here tonight.
An undefeated 3-division pound-for-pound king with 33 victories, 24 of those victories coming by way of KO. The former lightweight, former undisputed super lightweight, and tonight making the first defense of his WBO welterweight championship of the world. Born, bred, and repping Omaha, Nebraska, Terence Crawford.
Has returned to Guadalajara in front of his people. This is a spectacle. This is as good as it gets in boxing.
You know, we've seen Canelo Alvarez with some elaborate ring walks. We've seen him enjoy those ring walks. I don't think I've seen one quite so elaborate, and I don't think I've seen him enjoy one quite so much.
Super middleweight champion of the world, Saul Canelo
Canelo Alvarez has not faced as educated.
Trying to come with a left uppercut.
Good uppercut by Alvarez again.
Try to hurt him here.
Another big right hand by Canelo. The right hand lead against the lefty. Right. Canelo will have to cut off the ring.
There you see a hard jab for Canelo. But Canelo now knows what the...
41 of the wins for Canelo, 26.
Now, he's trying. I mean, he's giving his best.
Crawford on the attack.
Oh my, look at it.
It's over. Do it.
115, 113, and Steve Weisfeld has it. 115, 113. All three scores go to the winner by unanimous decision. From Omaha, Nebraska, USA, he is the new WBA Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Terence Crawford.
History.
The showdown between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence, but Crawford sounds like a boxing fan's dream. And for now, that's all it is. After 3 days of chaos, mixed signals, insider whispers, and behind-the-scenes calls, the rumored September 13th megafight at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas remains unconfirmed. But if both fighters sign on the dotted line in the coming weeks, it won't just be one of the biggest fights of 2025. It could be the most fragile blockbuster since Mayweather vs. Pacquiao. Here's everything we know so far, plus 5 major concerns that fans and insiders are already whispering about. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor, like this video and subscribe. 98% of you watch without subscribing, and it helps us massively. Done? Awesome. Let's get into it. But before Canelo can even think about Crawford and Allegiant Stadium, he's got a serious obstacle in his path. An upcoming May clash with unbeaten IBF super middleweight champion William Skull. On the surface, this fight is being sold as a routine tune-up, part of Canelo's traditional Cinco de Mayo showcase. But behind the scenes, It's anything but routine. Skull might not be a household name, but make no mistake, this Cuban-born, Germany-based fighter is no joke. He's fresh off a hard-fought win over Vladimir Siskin and currently holds the very belt Canelo vacated when he chose to chase a money fight against Edgar Berlingo. Now, Skull is hungry, active, and validated, and coming into this bout with real momentum. Add the pressure of facing a generational icon like Canelo, and what was supposed to be a stay-busy fight suddenly becomes a high-risk, high-stakes mission. Here's where things get complicated. Canelo needs that IBF belt back. Reclaiming it would make him undisputed once again at 168 pounds, and would add massive historic weight to the potential Crawford fight. But boxing never sticks to the script. If the Skull fight goes deep, if there's a cut, a hand injury, or worse, a controversial decision, everything changes. A single bad decision in May could derail everything planned for September. Canelo isn't getting any younger. At this stage of his career, every war of attrition leaves a deeper mark, one that recovery time alone might not fix. And then there's the political minefield. Skull is a mandatory challenger, and sanctioning bodies don't like their champions taking shortcuts. If Canelo struggles, or worse, suffers visible damage, it could throw a wrench into the Crawford negotiations. A lackluster showing, an injury, or even just a controversial win could force the talks to stall, reshuffle, or collapse entirely. This isn't just a fight, it's a trapdoor hiding beneath the entire superfight plan. One wrong exchange in May, and a $150 million mega fight could vanish in an instant. Now, let's talk about Terence "Bud" Crawford. For all his brilliance, the surgical precision, the freakish switch hitting, the mental warfare, time is quietly becoming his toughest opponent. Since 2020, Crawford has averaged just one fight per year. That stat says as much about boxing's broken ecosystem as it does about his own career strategy. Yes, the performances have been dominant, especially his masterclass against Errol Spence Jr., but the gaps between fights are starting to get louder. At 37 years old, Bud is not just older than Canelo, he's less active and stepping into uncharted territory. His last fight was at 154. Now, he's aiming to leap straight to 168 pounds. A weight class where punches come slower but land heavier, where clinches are stronger, and where damage is absorbed differently. This isn't just about jumping two weight divisions, it's about challenging biology. Fighters rarely thrive when skipping a full weight class, especially not in their late 30s when reflexes begin to slow and recovery starts to lag. Even with a full training camp, this transition isn't just about bulking up. It's about re-engineering a body that built its empire on twitch reflexes, sharp timing, and flawless balance. At heavier weights, the punches don't necessarily come faster, but they come later and they hit harder. Will Crawford still be the elusive, counterpunching genius at 168 that he was at 147? Or will the added weight dull his reactions just enough for Canelo to find the target? And then there's the mental toll of inactivity. Boxers live and die by rhythm. Time away from the ring doesn't just affect conditioning. It blunts timing, spatial awareness, and that intangible feel for the fight. You can't train ring IQ in the gym. You earn it under the lights. Crawford's instincts inside the ring are elite, but instincts, like blades, dull when they're not used. And walking into the biggest fight of your life after a long layoff? That's not just risky, it's psychologically dangerous. There's pressure, and then there's this. Crawford has built a legacy by shutting down champions, defying doubters, and navigating boxing's ugliest politics. But this next leap? It's not just historic, it's physically unprecedented in modern boxing. There's no tune-up at super middleweight, no test run, no margin for error. He's heading straight into the fire. The question isn't, is Crawford still great? The question is, can greatness survive the wait? Now, let's strip away the hype, the promotional smoke, and the social media noise, and ask the uncomfortable question. Why now? For years, Canelo Alvarez publicly dismissed the idea of fighting Terence Crawford. He cited the very real size difference and said bluntly in 2023, "He has everything to gain, and I have everything to lose." It was a fight that, by every risk-to-reward metric, didn't make sense. So what changed? 2 words: Turkic Alalshik. The Saudi advisor and mastermind behind Riyadh's season has flipped the fight game upside down, waving blank checks and building fantasy fights in real time. According to reports, Canelo was offered a staggering $150 million for this fight. Even for a fighter who's already made generational wealth, that kind of money changes everything. When you're being offered more for one night than you made across a dozen title defenses, even the proudest champions start listening. But make no mistake, money is only part of the story. Behind the scenes, Canelo has been playing a much bigger game. He's no longer just boxing's cash cow. He's working to become boxing's next true mogul. He's already managing rising stars like Teofimo Lopez and former opponent Jamie Munguia under his promotional banner. He's not just chasing belts anymore, he's chasing control. A win over Crawford wouldn't just silence critics or cement his resume. It would elevate his profile as a promoter, a brand, and a power broker in the sport. The more historic Canelo's in-ring legacy becomes, the more leverage he gains outside the ropes, with networks, sponsors, and future opponents. This is the Oscar de la Hoya blueprint. Use the final years of an elite career not just to win fights but to build an empire. So while the public sees this as a legacy-defining superlight, the real question may be deeper. Is this about proving something in the ring, or building something outside of it? And on the other side, you have Terence Crawford, a man who once looked untouchable at 147. He carved through champions with surgical precision, switched stances mid-fight like flipping a switch, and dismantled elite opponents both mentally and physically. But at 154, something shifted. He was still dominant, but the physical margin for error shrank. The punches were heavier. The room for finesse was smaller. Now, he's being asked to do something almost no modern great has done successfully. Jump 2 full weight divisions, from junior middleweight to super middleweight, with no warm-up fight, to face one of the most experienced, powerful champions of this generation. Even Crawford has admitted the mountain he's climbing. "I walk around heavier than people think," he told Boxing Scene. "But it's different when you've got a fight there." And he's right. Walking around at 170 is not the same as executing 12 rounds at the elite level against a man who's lived and thrived at 168 for over a decade. Crawford's style isn't built on brute strength. It's built on subtlety, speed, timing, rhythm, reaction. At 168, punches come slower, but they land harder. Clinch strength matters more. Timing windows get narrower. Everything in Crawford's arsenal gets a full-blown stress test. Can he keep his speed while adding size? Will his footwork suffer under the added mass? Will his stamina hold in the championship rounds? And what if it doesn't? History offers a warning. Roy Jones Jr. once made a bold move to heavyweight, claimed history, and paid the price. His body was never the same after he came back down. The physiological strain was permanent. Now the question looms. Is Crawford chasing greatness, or gambling everything he built to chase Canelo? At 37 years old, is Terence Crawford about to make the same sacrifice Roy Jones did? Chasing immortality without a safety net? There's no fight to acclimate, no tune-up to test the waters. He's leaping from elite technician to scientific experiment, all in a matter of months. And there's no undo button if it backfires. This might be a once-in-a-generation spectacle, but it's also a traffic jam for 2 entire weight classes, with ripple effects already rattling the sport. Let's start at 154 pounds. Crawford was 1 win away from potentially unifying the division. A bout with WBC and WBO champion Sebastian Fundora was being discussed, followed by a winter showdown with Borom Murtazaliev. That path could have made Crawford the first male fighter in the 4-belt era to become undisputed in 3 separate weight classes. That legacy-defining journey? It's now on ice, and it may never happen if the Canelo fight consumes the rest of his 2025. Now look at 168 pounds, and it's even messier. Canelo's path was already congested before Crawford entered the conversation. You've got David Benavidez, arguably the most avoided man in the division, who's been chasing Canelo for years. Diego Pacheco and Christian Billy are rising stars demanding their moment. Mandatory obligations like William Skull, who's already booked for May, are stacking up. And it doesn't stop there. Add in the looming threat of 175 pounds. If Dmitry Bykov defeats Art Beterbiev in their scheduled February rematch, a historic undisputed light heavyweight clash with Canelo could be next. But only if Canelo gets past Crawford. And here's the problem. If anything delays or derails Canelo versus Crawford, an injury, a contract dispute, or just boxing's usual chaos, 2 divisions and half a dozen contenders are left holding the bag. Forced to wait. Stuck in limbo. With no guarantee the fight ever happens. It's the classic boxing paradox. To make one legendary event, the entire sport must come to a grinding halt. To create this moment, boxing might have to freeze the rest of the sport. And here, right here, is where business and boxing collide. According to multiple insiders, when whispers of Canelo versus Crawford first began behind closed doors, Team Alvarez didn't exactly embrace the idea. In fact, they reportedly floated a $150 million price tag, not as a starting point, but as a deterrent. It was a financial firewall, a polite way of saying, this fight isn't happening. After all, that figure was more than Canelo earned for mega events against Golovkin, Plant, or even Bykov. The message was clear. He wasn't seriously entertaining the idea of fighting a smaller, faster opponent who could make him look bad, even in victory. It was a bluff, a pressure release valve, a way to avoid the fight without ever saying no. But then came Turkal Alshik. Armed with the full financial force of Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth, the man behind Riyadh season didn't flinch. He didn't negotiate. He didn't counter. He matched the number, instantly. Just like that, what was once fantasy became reality. The bluff got called. The fight that was never supposed to happen was suddenly on the table. Was it a stroke of genius? A high-stakes chess move? A way for Canelo to take a damned if you do, damned if you don't fight, but only if the risk was smothered in reward? Or was it something deeper, a calculated power play, using the sport's biggest payday to reshape the terms of engagement? Either way, one truth remains. Canelo is about to get paid like it's peak Mayweather season. And boxing's newest business model just rewrote the rules of matchmaking. As anticipation builds, so do the warnings, especially from those who've been through the fire. Timothy Bradley, former 2-division champ and now a respected voice ringside, may have said it best. He's not going to back down, Bradley said of Bud. But he's walking into something brutal. What scares me the most? It's not Crawford's age. It's not the weight jump. It's Canelo's power. The kind that doesn't just beat you, it breaks you. This isn't just a matter of skill. It's a matter of survival. Canelo has lived at 168 pounds for years. He's comfortable, powerful, patient. He throws bricks disguised as body shots, and when he cuts off the ring, he turns 22 feet of canvas into a phone booth. Crawford's genius? It's his ability to adapt mid-fight, to download opponents and dismantle them, round by round. But he's also a dog, prideful, aggressive, and fearless. And that's where the danger lives. Because if Crawford gets pulled into a fight, if he tries to trade in the pocket with a natural super middleweight who's knocked out light heavyweights, it could be lights out, early. One moment of bravado, one miscalculation, and the fight could be over before Bud even finds his rhythm. So now, the real question becomes, can Crawford stay disciplined and surgical, or will he get drawn into at-out with the bull? Here's how you know the fight is real. The greats can't even agree. Across eras and weight classes, legends are split. Mike Tyson, Canelo's too strong. Bud's great, but size matters in boxing. Shakur Stevenson, Bud's too smart. He figures Canelo out late. Teddy Atlas, it could end like Brook versus Golovkin. Andre Ward, Crawford's movement and IQ could give Canelo nightmares. Roy Jones Jr., Canelo's pressure breaks Bud down eventually. No consensus, no clear favorite, just tension, speculation, and fire. And that's what makes this fight so combustible. It's a clash of styles, a clash of eras, a collision of narratives, risk, and legacy. And at the center of it all, one undeniable truth. One punch could rewrite boxing history. One round, That's all it might take to flip the script. We're still 7 months out, and if boxing history has taught us anything, it's this: stay cautious. A bad cut in training, a contract snag, a change of heart from either side. It wouldn't take much for this entire event to collapse. We've seen it before. Wilder versus Joshua in 2018 was a done deal, until it wasn't. So, yes, it's fragile. But if this thing holds together, if both men stay healthy, if the ink dries on the right contracts, if Canelo survives Skull in May, and if Bud stays focused, then what we're looking at isn't just the biggest boxing event of 2025. It's the biggest real fight since Mayweather versus Pacquiao. No exhibitions, no YouTubers, no gimmicks, just two generational greats from two different divisions, meeting at the absolute edge of their physical and mental limits. Greatness chasing greatness. And that doesn't come around often. Now it's your turn. Who wins this fight? Is Canelo ducking or playing high-stakes chess? Does Crawford's body betray him at 168? Or does he pull off the impossible? Drop your predictions below. And circle September 13th, because if this one lands, history won't just be made. It'll be rewritten. If you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a favor. Like this video to support the channel, subscribe to Boxing Edge for the latest updates, fight breakdowns, and insider analysis, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Boxing's about to change, and we'll be here for every twist, turn, and punch.